Moving into level 4. Level 4 is going to be a mixed bag of our previous videos into the most important piece of your action moving forward into the next steps of your lifestyle. This one was the hardest for me throughout my young adult life. And what I mean by that is, first off, what we did was we started off thinking about our philosophy and our perspective, who we look to for wisdom, what perspective that we currently have in our job, in our lifestyle, and in our relationships. And then secondly, after that, we focused on our attitude. Where are you getting your vigor? And in your perspective as well, how is that making you feel? And that started to make me ponder, both of those things changing in the positive format are good things, but they do not make the miracle of success happen. You need a total of the three. And so when I started thinking more about this, the biggest thing that they've put forth the effort in is activity. You cannot have just a good attitude and a terrible work ethic. You can have a good attitude and have a great wisdom, but sit on the couch, right? So then I started to see, okay, here's the next piece of the puzzle that we need to add into our repertoire, into our tool belt, which is going to be activity. In activity, what I want to highlight is one special saying. We're trying to turn the wisdom of our philosophy, and we're trying to add in the inspiration, the vigor, and the passion of our newfound attitude, combine them into disciplines practiced. That's what we're trying to do. And in order to really push into this topic, I want to add a few of the disciplines that I've currently started. So after you've already outlined those set goals of what you want and why you're even here, why you're listening to me and you're trying to be a better person, a better husband, a better father, a better success, a person who is focused on his growth in business or his growth in communication. So what we want to then focus on, making your daily activity a daily discipline. What are the easy things in your life that you can change that will, in 6 years from now, make a better man out of you, help you reach your goals? As in the previous attitude adjustment, we now have an action adjustment. So now you start writing down your actions, you start taking those daily tallies, and then you start realizing the mentality around certain things are vilified. So number one in our search for getting better at activity and using our wisdom and our attitude, mixing it into our disciplines practice, is going to be, what do we vilify? That's number one. When it comes to what do we vilify, for me personally, I vilified the mornings. I hated the mornings. I thought, man, when it comes down to it, if you tell me to work 16 hours, no problem. You tell me, hey, you gotta wake up at 5 a.m., I'm going to riot. I don't know what it was. I didn't understand why I could not stop vilifying my mornings. And what I learned from a good coach of mine is he stated that we're going to put those conditions and those emotions, whether positive or negative, on a certain topic ourselves. And it goes back into the Stoic principle of we cannot think about the things that we cannot control. We must think about the things that we can control. And in our control, we can then push ourselves into a more justified, into a more righteous lifestyle. Moving forward into devilifying what you currently have. What is gonna, when you think about it, I want you to think about it and write it down. What are you thinking about that makes you just get a little bit more stressed out whenever you have to start doing it? Is it, oh no, I gotta start washing the dishes? Is it, oh no, I gotta start, I gotta pay my taxes, you know? You got to feed the goose that lays the golden eggs, right? Whenever you outline what you vilify currently and what you have a negative connotation with, but after you extrapolate it, I want you to adjust your thinking and perspective. How can I change this into a disciplined practice? What can you do in order to take off that negative connotation, and what result would come of it if you really thought about it? Well, people will tell you less. Well, people might classify you as a more responsible person. Well, people might classify you as somebody who's less messy. Maybe that's one of your goals. So that brings me into number 2, long-term perspective. Number 2 is long-term perspective in regards to your activity. When we're thinking about our activity and our goals, you're thinking, man, I'm benching. I'm gonna start benching 5 times a week. It's gonna be excellent. The ability for your muscle to actually recover is non-existent, which will then do more harm than good. And so you have to realize that in a long-term perspective, this is the better way. Hey, this is the better way of thinking in that situation. Let me focus on a chest routine that I can add daily or I can add weekly. so that I can focus on adding it and then seeing what happens after 6 weeks. So then you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna put this in my list. It's gonna get done. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I do chest. Every Tuesday and Thursday. And after 6 weeks, let me try and hit what I used to hit and then see the change, right? But as you continuously think about the long-term perspective, you're more likely to retrieve not only the desired result, but at the same time, the desired habit. Because in the future, that perspective, if it works for you and you have a positive connotation alongside it, it will make you repeat that process. Replacing breakfast where it's cereal and milk or something that's simple into Greek yogurt and adding something that's going to be good for you and really focusing on it and extrapolating the situation and then attacking it for the long term. Focus on the long-term perspective because Rome is not built in a day, and that is one of the biggest issues that people will have whenever they're trying to achieve their goals, is that they're going to do it until it gets hard. Number three, I call it take action on neglect. Whenever you have reviewed your lifestyle and understand where you're neglecting yourself, starting to make those changes is going to be more important than adding additional habits that you would like to incur. So say, for example, a lot of times whenever we're thinking about these different pieces of success, there tends to be a block, a wall in a way of something that we really vilify that we don't want to cover. Your dogmatic habits, because habits can be good or bad. Where am I spending my time? Can I spend my time focused on the things that I'm weakest at that would most affect me? And then what can I do about them immediately with disciplines repeated? Number 4 is going to be focusing on getting it all on paper. As I've encouraged you to do, getting it on paper, understanding that once you write it down and once you see it, you can then start having a more detailed conversation with yourself in your activities. And you can say, oh, well, I did technically just watch 3 hours of Netflix before this. And then when you're honest with yourself and you see it on paper, you're like, well, we can easily judge others. When we judge ourselves, it's a little harder in regards to actually reflecting and trying to do something about it. We can then be people who will repeat that and beat ourselves down and get into some sort of more shame-based existence, which has happened to me before, to where you're not doing enough and then you experience shame from not doing enough. Let that activity shine on the page and let the activity show to ourselves that we are doing more than we did the previous week. As we get into the next pieces of these videos, this one is the one that will be one of the most important, simply because the labor, getting your reps in, the action, if you fall in love with it, you will change. You will make those changes. Whenever I was starting out with trucking, buddies that were starting out in their current jobs, the best advice that we received was simply, hey, if you're going to do something and it's going to lead you to the next stages of your success, you better get something from it. If you're already suffering and you're already in pain or you're already not wanting to do it, you're still spending that same amount of time in that discipline, or you're spending the same amount of time outside of that discipline. Stay focused. Keep focusing on your reflection. Write it down, and then once you finish writing it down, make that list. Follow that list. A lot of guys put it right there in front of their computer. What I used to do is I'd put $1 million number just right here on the computer. Every single day I'd put it on there until it's achieved. Puts things on there that's going to be, hey, 4 p.m. I know I got to stop and read 10 minutes of my Bible. 4 p.m. I know I got to head out, go work out. No matter what, it's non-negotiable. Those things will begin to build neural pathways in your mind that will basically bother you if you don't do it. And that's activity, and that's disciplines practiced. And in the future, as you're getting your reps in, we're talking months down the road, you're going to like what you see. Not because much has changed, but because at the same time you changed. Because at the same time your priorities are changing. As we want to express our next stages, I encourage you to write it down, put it there, and also 3, make a to-do list. Put that to-do list on your phone. There are great apps on it. I used Todoist, and I hated it. I hated it utilizing it. However, my discipline was, not that I'm going to be good at it, my discipline was simply, I'm going to use it daily. And eventually, as I continue to adapt, just as us as human beings do, I utilize it more than I utilize any other app, and it is amazing. So again, best of luck to you. I hope that you are able to take from this, and that as we get into the future of more videos, we're able to see changes that we like in ourselves, that we're able to listen more to the soul versus listening to our body and our complacency. Best of luck.